Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs. Well, Tony's not here.
Yeah, so what do we do now?
It's just you, me, and you, Rob. So go ahead.
But like until he says that, do we even know what to do next? I mean,
Nobody will. That's why you just need to go.
that's weird. Rob Chafe, Mad Calification.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We are thrilled to death that you are listening to our show. This is an interesting one. We're in between episodes. Mm-hmm. And we'll get into why we're doing this, but we're going to recap our experience with NAMM, not just from like, hey, we went there, so derp to derp. But remember, we had that interview with CEO of NAMM, John Mlynczak.
You think you got that right?
Mlynczak.
Check.
Mlynczak.
Yeah, isn't it?
John, exactly how do you pronounce that name?
My name is John Mlynczak.
Well, just like John said, that's his name, and that's how we're going to pronounce it.
And that's it. From here forward, he is John from NAMM.
Yeah, John from NAMM. So just real quick, no, we're not going to linger super long on announcements. We're not going to be doing the big would you rather. We just want to just kind of do a quick report, partially because let's talk about what happened, what was in our music world this week, Rob. On the count of three, say what happened. 1, 2, 3. Sickness. Yes. We got stricken with NAMM.
Todd was stricken. I
had a pretty bad.
Grazed.
Yeah. So, in my music world, zero happened this week.
Yep.
And we're probably going to cough a bit while we're on the show.
Sorry.
So sorry about that. But we've got inhalers here. Or my inhaler, anyways, and
I might have to hit that.
I'm on other meds and stuff. So, anyways, apologies ahead for that. But it has been really, really rough, and I know some other people got hit with some forms of that as well.
Yeah.
Ours was upper respiratory infection, which was, going to happen, I guess, or maybe not. I've never gotten sick before, so
Yeah, doesn't have to happen.
Anyways. Okay, we had a great time. Let's get into why we had a great time. First and foremost, it's probably nice to note that this was Rob's first time there.
In Anaheim.
Let
me say that again.
Yes. So I think it would be great to hear from your perspective, your kind of initial experience and everything. Then we're going to get into some highlights and some of the other more specific things that happen, and then we're going to actually kind of wrap it up with, so how did this compare with our conversation with John from NAMM?
That's a wonderful outline, Todd.
Thank you. Okay, Rob, take it away.
So, so I've never been to Anaheim at all, let alone for the NAMM. It was probably one of the most ideal setups, in my opinion, being that smaller airport you fly into, very close, convenient to convention center area. The proximity of all the hotels, restaurants down there in relationship to the convention, the layout of the convention, it was kind of perfect if you're going to put something like this together. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to fly into LAX. It's not a more congested area. It's a really nice area down there. You got lots of food options, just everything about it. You know, it's kind of ideal. And those are things that you don't always think about. But, I think that's important. And the convention center is great. It's massive, way bigger than it needs to be for what, they put on there. That's for sure.
Well, they do other things there, Rob.
Well, I know, but saying is they could have probably found something, smaller size, but it wouldn't have had the same amenities. So, I can see why it's been, how many years has it been?
Long time. That many years.
A couple decades?
Yes.
Yeah. So I can see why they keep it there,
Yeah.
So all that was nice. We stayed at the Hilton.
On premises, which was shockingly one of the actually more affordable places to stay there.
Yeah, it was pretty affordable.
Yeah.
I was watching some clips this week of, as we were, in a drug-induced haze from the sickness, some other people, what their takes were, where they stayed and costs and that kind of stuff. And I was surprised that some of the other lodging around there was as affordable, if not a little cheaper,
I mean, to put it in perspective, the hotel on the premises, the Hilton, was half the price, at least, from one of the Disneyland hotels,
Well,
which
that
is
doesn't surprise
literally
me.
a block away.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, and you,
In the past, we've stayed at Airbnbs because we'd usually have Johnny from Oakland Guitars come and stay with us, or multiple people, and that's a great time too. The only downside of that is you really do you're gonna start paying in transportation really fast,
right.
And that was one of the nice things. Like we were right there.
Yeah, and I think if you actually want to take part of NAMM and have that be your focus for being there, then I think you got to be within a couple blocks.
I think that if you are lucky enough and you go like, hey, there's gonna be like 5 of us, let's get a house and do that. That's really fun. But you got to know, well, you're gonna be paying for driving,
and that's gonna
all
be
that
different too, because there's so many other things going on in all the hotels and all the areas around there immediately after NAMM. Even just the Yamaha concert, they had each night.
Yeah.
Off right on campus. If you want to partake of that and you have a house X number of miles away, you get done with a long day, you're like, well, I don't want to hang. I kind of want to go home.
I don't want to go back into that traffic.
And
It's pretty rough.
So yeah, being on site there, that allows for all those options, at least in my humble opinion, because both of us made the mistake of
there's benefits to both. I've done both.
Yeah.
So for this instance, this was the right thing for us to do.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. I guess it depends on what you want your focus of the show to be.
Yeah. I mean, heck, we got to shake hands with Whitney Houston's drummer.
Oh, I thought we were going to wait for the highs of the highs.
I'm just dipping into it real quick.
Let me tell you, that was seriously when I was making notes, like what are the highs of the thing? It's funny, that was one of the highs, and not shaking the hands because he's this guy or because I don't remember his name. Sorry. But there's so many musicians in that area and players, and it's funny that you could tell these two guys were the real deal. We had no idea who they were. They were playing in Paul Reed Smith's backing band at a 45-minute set in the Hilton lobby.
It was really good.
Yeah,
really good. Yes.
But we walked in the room about halfway through, and the backing band was it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell all of them were seasoned professionals. And so afterwards, I tell Todd, I'm like, hey, I gotta go say something to the drummer and the bass player, because they were just phenomenal together. And I walk up and I tell him, hey, really enjoyed your playing, blah, 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 blah. Have you done gigs with the bass player before? No, I said, you and the bass player really lock in. He starts laughing. He's like, yeah, we should. That's my brother.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Come to find out, talk to the bass player, tell him the same thing. It's like, oh, yeah, that's my brother. No, I'm sorry, it was the rhythm guitar player told me this.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, the drummer played for Whitney Houston for however long. And so it's like...
And both those guys, they could probably roll out a tie-length list of everyone they've played with.
And
they were outstanding.
And you could tell, it sounded like, and I talked to the rhythm player, I'm like, how often do you guys rehearse? He's like, oh, no, we never do.
Yeah.
We just do this X number of times a year, and you could tell.
100% pro.
Whole different level. Yeah. Whole different level. So,
so that's just a little tiny bit of that. And, I think another weird thing about if you're on site and something like that, you're just going to have more chance encounters. Like, I was in the elevator and we stopped, and I actually went up to go back down one because I was just impatient. And I went down, the door's open, and here comes Rick Beto and Tim from the that pedal show, and I was like, oh,
hey guys,
well, isn't this cozy?
Yeah.
And they were deep in conversation. I'm like, I'm not gonna just let him go, But that was unexpected.
Yeah. Friday morning, I go down to Starbucks in the Hilton lobby at 8 a.m. thinking nobody will be in line. Huge line, of course. So I'm next up to get called to place my order. And there's this older guy kind of wandering in front of me, like looking around like he doesn't know where he's going. And it's Tim Pierce. He was looking for his pickup order, I think.
Yeah.
And it was like, hey, Tim.
Yeah.
And he goes, hey. And he's like, I'm looking for...
Yes. And if you don't know who that is,
Just look up Tim Pierce.
Yeah, kind of like Mr. Guitar.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so what was some of the aside from all the amenities and all that stuff? Okay,
Yeah,
this is a music show.
Hold on. We're the best amenity of the whole thing. 'Cause you had a stage in front of the convention center out near the main drag.
Yeah.
You had the big Yamaha one out back, which had John Baptiste play on Friday. CC, I can't remember her name. Christian contemporary singer.
Don't look at me.
On Thursday, she performed. Major acts playing immediately at the close of NAMM every day.
Yeah,
Beautiful outside stage.
yeah,
It was just awesome. And then right behind that was the food truck court,
yeah.
which was genius.
Well, there's another stage just to the left of that too.
Right. Yeah, the one out front. Yeah. But the food court.
That was a great food
truck,
court.
That was an ingenious idea of the locations, everything about
That
it.
wasn't there last time.
Yeah. So that's awesome.
At least I don't believe it was. But
Yeah, just be able to pop out of the show there, and it's, what was that, 100 meters? You walk, and you got all these food options. You
Not
walk
even
right
that.
back in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk about amenities. I'm sorry, but that was a big one.
that was a big one.
Now, a downside there.
Downside there.
Hilton was under construction.
Yes, a lot of it was.
The lobby.
The lobby was.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. I mean, they couldn't help it. They got to do it at some point.
Yeah.
But it was like, you walk in there like, geez, okay, this is all
Yeah.
fut stuff.
I think everybody's like, whatever, let's go.
Yeah, I know. It'll be better next year
Yep.
because that'll be all.
Okay, so let's talk about the floor.
Okay.
So, walk us through what your initial take on that was.
So it was actually 4 halls interconnecting, right?
Yeah.
A through D.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was how can I put this? Confusing.
How? It's numbers and letters,
It's numbers and letters.
and each hall was basically a different
Sort
music
of.
industry.
Sort of.
Ish.
Sort
Ness.
of, but not really. They had some things that were
Well, there's a couple brands, like Baldwin or Roland or what was another Eventide, where it's like they're serving different things.
well, sort of. So, and did you find Eventide?
Well, they're just by.
I found it.
You did
Hall E.
Hall E.
Hall E, and I think
It was by appointment only.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It was in the back of Hall E, which was mainly acoustic stuff,
Yeah,
but it also had Pearl drums in there
yeah,
and Eventide hidden in the back.
yeah.
It was right, and you had JBL up towards the front of Hall A, which was primarily like the EDM DJ
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
You're smacking your mouth a whole lot.
smack.
Yeah, you got to be careful of that, or else somebody's going to write in and tell you, like, if Rob smacks his mouth one more time, I'm never listening to the show again. That happened
Will that
on
be
episode number 2,
Todd
I believe,
Novak?
and I never did it again.
Ms.
Pretty
Todd
much,
Novak.
almost never did it.
Yeah, I'm sick, man. I'm still.
That's okay.
So yeah, that's mean. So the where some things were in proximity, and it's obviously like a sort of grid system.
Yeah,
But it's a grid done by someone who's not an engineer.
well, I mean, you gotta understand. I mean, it's like there's already a grid there, right?
Yeah.
They've already laid it out in a pretty perfect grid. However,
Go ahead.
no, the convention. That's
Yeah,
the convention,
I
right?
know.
So they've laid it out in like, here's rows 1 through 10, or whatever
Okay.
the numbers were, right? And then and every other cross section. So
Right.
I think all that is very much well sorted out. I think the problem is, and it's not, this is not the biggest problem in the world, but if you have like Marshall come in and go, "Poof," and it's squatting across like 4.5 things, you can kind of get lost on what am I on now? And,
Yeah. Well, and more so than anything else, like if you're gonna have a behemoth like Marshall, right there, like they had Pedal Land, with all the independent guys.
Yeah.
That co-op thing.
Yeah.
But then they had this amp company right here. Then they had, I don't know, whatever, I'm trying to think of an example. Floyd Rose parts over here. It was disjointed. I wish that they could organize things more cohesively.
Maybe that's on purpose, though. Just like the supermarket is laid out so that you go through the whole supermarket.
It might be, but I think for people, buyers, content creators, it would make more sense if things were organized more together. And
maybe that ties into the plan that we were talking about with John. Because in the past, that was very much like that.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. See, and I like that because going
all the parts, any parts stuff. Like, hey, I need 1,000 chrome tail pieces.
Right.
Okay. All of that is basically in one area, and it was just actually usually downstairs.
Right. Now, why? Yeah, that would make way more sense because. How can I put this? I know for a fact that we missed things because they were like, oh yeah, I can't find Eventide. Well, yeah, it's behind Pearl Drums in the back of Hall E.
Yeah.
Where nothing else is. It's like, well, what the?
Yeah.
Well,
and remember, Caroline was on this really weird, just like. Island
right.
Nowhere near any of the actual stuff that he would usually be associated with.
Right, and next one was like something, I don't know, New Hampshire College of Music or something.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Did you pick the short straw? Is that how you got this?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who'd you tee off? So that's what I mean. So like for us going in there, we usually focus on smaller builders, and we would go to pedal area, we'd go to amp area. It was like, whoa, wait a minute, what's this over here that has nothing to do with this? Or we want to go see the Billy Zoom pickup. It was like in the hallway between.
He's there.
Two.
He's like, that's his place, though, and I think.
But if you've never been there before,
right,
you may not
have
even
to use the map, and you have to look it up. Well, and they've got a very good app that helps you out with that.
Yes, but when you're on a phone and you're half blind. And I've just got the iPhone 6. I don't have like the super tablet size thing. Looking at that map is on the app.
Rob had to use the spot his flashlight to look at menus. Everybody.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I had to get out like my magnifying glass on my phone to use that app because I'm like, because there's what 4,000.
Yeah, there's a lot
exhibitors there. So
anyways,
you're looking
yes.
For, yeah. So my point being,
so your biggest gripe of this whole thing was
not my biggest gripe,
not
my biggest gripe, but that was a thing. It would have been, it would have suited me more and seemed to have suited creators as well as buyers to have that, as you described it used to be. And I know my experiences when I was a buyer at NAMM in Nashville, that's the way it was. Things were grouped and it made it very easy and convenient. If I was looking to add to my lines, I go and look, here's the acoustic, and here's my buyers. Whereas I'm going to miss out on a brand I might want to buy into because they're way across over, hidden somewhere. It's like, well, who does that benefit?
And some of the bigger conglomerates have to be conglomerates at that point. They're like, well, we're not going to be into guitars because...
That's understandable.
Yeah.
That's understandable. It's the little guys that will get lost.
Yeah.
Whatever, some pickup manufacturer that's shoved between LP percussion and something else and another,
Yeah.
So that's why I bring that up, It's not a huge dig.
Yeah. I don't know. You spent 15 minutes on it.
Well, no, I don't know why we spent 15 minutes on it. So yeah, what about you, Todd? What did you think?
Well, this is not my first time. So last time that we went, Tony and I talked an awful lot and raised a lot of questions between ourselves about what we saw and what the omens were. There were a lot of omens last year.
What do you mean omens?
Well,
and
the year before that too.
So you guys went in 23 and 24?
Yes, I believe so.
I thought you guys skipped one.
We did. We skipped 20. Did 23 start? I can't remember. Anyways,
Okay.
I think it was the last two that we went to. Yeah, we did go to the last two. Anyways,
Okay.
we were very concerned because a lot of the floor was empty, and the plate. Usually they send you to a downstairs area to go get your badges and everything, and they said, no, we got plenty of room in the main floor to do that, which was another like, whoa, where did all the people that would usually be here go? Mm-hmm. We were concerned previously with, there were some major brands that just weren't there compared to like 2018, I think, with this when we went.
So pre-pandemic versus
Yeah. And that's that's a conversation that I know a lot of you who are listening have heard a lot about from all the various content creators, like where the heck is Fender? Where's Marshall? Where's Gibson? Where's Boss? Where's just insert your favorite brand. Where's JHS? And they were non-existent, previously. When we had the CEO on, we addressed a lot of those things, and that was a prerequisite to have him on the show. So, we didn't want to just make it a NAMM commercial.
Right.
And I was pleased because a lot of the things that we talked about, like, he really did make good on. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden everything's fixed, and one guy can't just fix all of NAMM either.
And to that point, I don't see it as a fixing situation. COVID in every possible way with the music industry, it forever changed things.
Yes.
So now it's
nothing.
What will NAMM be
it's
for
not
in the
a
future?
Fix. There are some things that in the state of wherever it's at needed fixing. And those things were taken account.
Right.
The bigger subjects, which we'll kind of touch on as we go through this, are looming out there. I mean, we had a lot of spirited conversation about what those new omens are.
Yeah.
Just that was really interesting conversations that we had about that.
Yeah.
We'll touch on that shortly. We don't want to turn this into a big salad of things.
Whatever. Hey, it's our podcast.
Rob, as you know, I like a little bit of order. Not too much. I think
So
yeah.
And going to you're going down the path of comparing it to the past couple years.
Right.
So attendance by exhibitors as well as
attendance by exhibitors was up for sure.
If you had to put a number on it, did it look 30% more?
I won't say X more. I feel like you have to take it from the 100% away.
Okay.
I know that sounds weird, but
No.
previously we were probably looking at like 75% of what used to be there. Well, that was us going, whoa, right? Then the next year was like 80, maybe even just 80. It was a little bit uptick, but we're like, hey, is this going to happen again?
Right.
To the point where that's where we had so many questions about it. This year felt much more healthy.
Okay.
Much more healthy. And in going into some of the other music halls as well, like looking in like at the electronic industry aisle, all the DJ stuff and all the synths and everything was bananas.
That was a high for me.
Yeah.
Because and not to dig on the rest of the exhibits. When we walked, I think it was Hall B or A, wherever that was located at.
Yeah.
So you go from Hall C
It's
into
another
B.
hall.
Yeah. But you kind of walk through a partition area. It's a short hallway to connect. And they're all open. There's no doors or anything. But passing through there, felt to me like we entered a different show.
Yeah.
The level of energy and excitement and it was something else. I am not a DJ guy. I'm not an EDM guy. But it was just, you could feel it.
Well, and part of that, though, is that basically all the music that is made in there, is of a certain type of energy, which can't be applied to everything else.
No.
When you go to the guitar stuff, it's like that's a huge range of energy.
Well, yeah, but I don't like that music. I find that music annoying and that scene in general annoying. But there was this.
I listened to it all day.
There was a buzz. Okay, well, my condolences. But no, I mean there was a buzz.
I actually do.
I believe you.
Yes, I'm just telling everybody else that.
It was something else, but that was the one area of the show that was everything was innovative, everything was new. Where many other parts of the show.
But some of that is also that's new to you. Like you yourself said, I don't listen. I'm not familiar with this scene. I'm not familiar with the equipment.
It is, but as I was looking at booths and you're in there playing with the little keyboard, and I talked to a rep from whoever the company was, and I said, what new products they have, and they went, well, and the whole line of everything's new. Where I asked that in the guitar area. And I can't tell you how many people I said, well, what's new for this show? Nothing.
Yeah, there was a lot. That's true. When
how
you're
many
talking,
times can you
when you're talking about this is
pedal,
new and exciting, I mean, to me that I thought you were applying that to like the entire area kind of thing.
No.
Okay,
No. These aren't just blanket. It was just like when we went over to the Behringer Music Tribe.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of them and anything they do, but they had a lot of new exciting products and things to show, and because that's new technology. That's where so that's all I'm saying there is that whole EM DJ area. It was.
I probably would have spent more time there just checking it out for sure.
Yeah. You were having a blast just touching things and pushing buttons and putting headphones on and I was. It was very interesting to me to see that, but
but that's one of those things where people can go like, dang, this music over here is so much more exciting, and this whole scene is so much more exciting. And then when you go over to the guitar, it's like you got everybody from all the different genres are all jammed into one pile. So you got full on pointy guitars right next to the mandolins.
Well, and this goes into a bigger discussion that we had some degree of where guitar is in pop culture versus
we can't do that yet.
No, we can't. That's a whole nother podcast. But I think we're seeing that bleed into the show. That what guitar for 40 years was is now a tiny little percentage versus.
I have some thoughts on this that I'll save till we get to another section down at the back, and I'm going to make a little note. Duly noted. So, let's talk about a couple of major highlights so we don't try to save that for the end.
What was the big highlight for you? What did you walk in?
My biggest highlight was getting Billy Zoom.
Oh, I shouldn't have. I knew that.
To sign my actual arm instead of a piece of paper.
I should have videotaped you standing
in front of Mr. TV Jones.
Yeah. Todd was standing there like a kid, waiting for the ice cream truck to show up, and he was so patient. He patiently waited. After 20 minutes, I had it.
Rob said, "I'm going somewhere else."
Yeah, I'm going to go sit down because I'm standing on concrete for 6 hours.
Yeah, it was. We talked to TV Jones, who will be on the show, Thomas V. Jones. Just so everybody knows that. So we're really excited about that. And then I noticed it said the legendary Billy Zoom of X is going to be here. And I was like...
And he squealed like a girl.
I did. I was so excited. And, I've seen them loads of times. And I've actually gotten to shake his hand twice before. And, it's like when you meet your heroes, it's exciting. Yeah. And here, of all places, I was like, oh my gosh, this booth is going to be mobbed. I got there right when he got there. And I told him all the things that you say, oh, you're my biggest influence. I love guitar. I tried to play it as cool as I could.
Not very well done.
He was very kind. And I said, can can you sign something? And he's like, sure. And he kind of looked at me, and I put out my arm, and he goes, I said, will you sign my arm? And he grabbed my arm, and then he looked at me like my dad or something. He goes, you're not going to get a tattoo, are you? And I said, yeah, probably. And he's like, okay, I'll make it nice then. And he took his time and he did it right. I was like, man, this is so awesome. Yeah. So my wife still has to clear that, though. I'm working on it. Yes.
Have you broached the subject?
Oh,
then?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a big personal deal for me. Yeah. But then also just meeting TV Jones, like legendary pickups. And here he is, Yep. Hey there. Hey, my name's Tom.
Yep.
That was really excellent. Okay, your turn. Go.
The first product that we saw that kind of blew both of us away.
Yeah, that was going to be the next thing I said.
Okay.
Do it.
Let's talk about Celestion Peacekeeper. Is that what it was called?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a new design speaker that is very low output, but the short of it, in theory, it should operate as a normal speaker would, same load, same response.
It's like an attenuating speaker. Think about it like that.
Yes. But yeah.
In fact, think of it exactly like that.
Is that the way that is that what they call it?
Let me.
There you go.
Do some
Todd's
ASMR.
got copy.
I got the materials. The Peacekeeper is a revolutionary new attenuating speaker for guitarists from Celestion. It's the simplest and most toneful way of being able to dial your amplifier right up to its sweet spot while keeping the decibel levels down.
Nice.
That's exactly what it did.
There you go. Yeah.
We probably told every single person that we met there about
Todd
this.
told everybody.
I did.
Like I walk up on him and he's talking to the CEO of Yamaha Corp. And guy doesn't even speak English and he's telling him all about the Celestion. No,
I did tell a lot of people about it.
I walked up to you and you were at a major booth. I don't
No,
know
that's what I was at Electro Harmonics. He's like, hey, what'd you see? I was like, dude.
Yeah, that. No, I walked up on you somewhere and you were talking, and it was almost that scenario where you're talking to somebody that chances are didn't actually care about this, but you were so excited about it.
I made them care.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit more here. So what Rob and I saw, and this is no discredit to Celestion, but when he said, hey, let's check out the Celestion booth, I was like,
Yeah.
Because they haven't
Speakers.
really. We know that. We know what they do.
They make speakers.
We know the speakers they made.
And they come out with a new speaker quite often.
Yeah,
but it's not.
Last time they had the double Dutch bus there, but it was also like, what the hell is you know?
Well, and the other thing is, and to put it into context too, we just walked in on Thursday morning,
Right.
so we're like both kind of cracked out kids. Like, okay, we're gonna go first.
Yeah.
So for us to stop at Celestion immediately was
Yeah.
right.
But that was maybe the best decision we made the entire
was something,
time.
yeah.
So we walked up and there's a dude playing this stuff. His name was Joe Levitt, and he was an ace. He was such a good dude. And he's sitting there playing the guitar, and it was really low volume. And fortunately, they were far enough away from the volume that we could hear it. Mm-hmm. And he had two 20-watt Marshall amps.
Yeah,
in
like
front of him.
SV20s or something, little Studio Vintage or whatever.
And one of them was completely goosed.
Yep.
Or dimed, if you like. I like goosed, whatever. And then the next one was the exact same guitar.
Amp.
Set at 2.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, he had an AB box.
Yep.
And he'd say, all right, he was playing and he was like, yeah, this sounds, pretty good. And he said, okay, I'm going to show you what the same exact signal is through this one, which is set at volume 2. And he hit that, and I mean, we all just went like, ew. It was like a wet sandwich.
Yeah.
I mean, it was floppy. It had no real teeth or muscle to it at all. It just sounded anemic and
What I took away from more was just the sheer volume difference.
Well, but yeah, that's the second part of it.
Yeah.
It sounded like that, but it was significantly louder
Oh, I mean, yeah.
than the first one.
I mean, drastically.
Yeah. It would be the difference
Drastically.
between, hey, this is on 2 versus this is on 6.
Yeah.
So Rob and I's eyes both popped out and we're like, so
Yeah.
wait, what's going on? And he said, this one is dimed. This one is not. Why do you think that is?
Different speakers.
Different speakers. And we're like, okay. He said, this is an attenuating speaker. And we literally, it's like, we're just like completely freaked out little kids.
Yep.
Like we could not think. We were like trying to think of who are we going to tell first, right?
Well, and you're off talking to the guy and seeing the demo, and I immediately walked over to the speaker that's mounted on the wall because I wanted to, Mr. Engineer. I'm like, okay, what is this
Right.
exactly?
And I was talking to the designer of it.
Right, and I started talking to one of the techs trying to get like, okay, how does this work, and is it a dummy coil or this or that? Because there have been other companies to do similar ideas, but not like this.
No,
So-
I never heard anything like that.
Yeah.
And this is a 50-watt speaker.
Right.
That's another thing to keep in mind. That's insane.
50 watts, and I think the SPL level is, does it say on there?
And that's 86 dB.
86 dB. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is, yeah, it's something. And I asked, at this point, this is the only one of this they're going to make.
So keep in mind, too, this is voiced as something that they didn't really define. It sat somewhere in the middle. He did reference greenback, but it wasn't a committal to being a greenback.
Yeah.
I think the intention is that it be on its own. It's not
Right.
a something version of that greenback. It's
At
not
this-
a quieter version of the greenback.
At this point.
At this point, right.
And I think I
They want it to stand on its own.
I would assume that if this does really well, then maybe eventually it would have, this would be the original Peacekeeper. But if you want a Peacekeeper Vintage 30 flavor, maybe
Right.
if they sell thousands and thousands of them. And,
Well, and he said, well, this isn't going to be our cheapest product.
Yeah.
But you know what?
well,
What's the alternative?
Right.
You got to buy an attenuator, and you got to play, you
Plug it
got an
in,
aux box and all this stuff, and it's like,
yep.
I think that's significantly more expensive and
Absolutely.
more hassle.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So this was just really, really exciting, and we had the benefit of talking with the guy who actually developed it.
Yeah.
That was cool, and he was a young dude.
Yep.
It was awesome. It was
cool.
such a great experience.
Yeah.
Very excited, and they will be on our show. So I'm woohoo for that. Okay, go.
That was mine.
Oh, that
And
yeah,
then,
that was.
and then you kind of hijacked.
Oh, you know what? I think another big one for me. I did hijack.
you completely. It's like, okay, Todd. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
I think another one was we had turned the corner. We're looking at third power amps, and we recognized a somewhat familiar face there. It's a Delana.
Yep.
And she started third power amps, famous for lots of other things before that.
So much history.
And the famous third power amp that really kind of got people focused on it was the Woolly Coats. When the first NAMM that I went to was in Tennessee in I think 2000. The spring of 2018 or 17, maybe 17. Anyways, and I had a conversation with her, and I said, I would love to have you on the show. You know, we had a great talk, and nobody was hassling her, and I just got to talk to her. Hadn't seen her since. Hadn't had a conversation since. The emails, just nothing went anywheres. So I said, well, okay, I guess you didn't want to do that. We walked up, and the first thing she said was, hey, I know you. And honestly, you almost saw me cry right there, Rob, because that meant a lot to me. It's like, and it instantly reaffirmed like how much connections that we make matter. How much the first impression that we give of ourselves can matter to somebody else. So we continue to have a great conversation. She shared some very, very exciting news that she had just received. And we're going to have her on the show to talk about not only Third Power, but all the other stuff that is now at her doorstep.
Well, and I can't wait to talk to her about the history that she has as both a musician, an engineer, some of the groundbreaking companies she's worked for in the past, how that's led to where she's at now. I mean, it's something else. And I'll say this, we both walked away from that, and I was like, what a genuinely just fantastic person.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Somebody who clearly cares a great deal about that. And I can give a little bit of context to the conversation that I just brought up, which was she said after that show, I basically just shut everything off.
Yeah.
I shut down. I just tried to focus on how can I make this the best I could. I was overwhelmed with a lot of stuff. I didn't want to, I just shut everything down.
Yep.
And that would account for like, hey, I saw what happened.
Yeah. Yep.
But she was very eager and grateful for the conversation we had. So she'll be coming on the show too.
That's one I'm really looking forward to.
We talked about meeting TV Jones.
Yep.
Awesome. Another big one for me was actually off of the. Well, I'll say there's a couple big ones that I'll get to.
Why not now?
Because I don't want to deviate from the NAMM conversation.
Oh, okay. So we're still on NAMM.
So we'll keep it in NAMM.
I get you. Okay.
Well, we waited around. Talk about being patient. For 3 days.
We didn't wait around for 3 days. We
2 days.
We walked
2
by.
days.
Here's the thing: when you want to say hi to either a particular person,
1.5 days.
Yeah. If you want to say hello to the owner of a company or a very popular personality, it is what it is. You either got to get in line or you got to come by the booth. Nope, they're busy. Walk away, come back a half hour later, walk away, come back half an hour later. And we had to do that with this particular person. We just couldn't catch them when they were free. It is what it is.
I mean, to his credit, he was always busy.
He is always giving of his time. And I'll tell you, you call the factory and half the time he'll answer the phone. So that's the kind of guy he is,
Did you tell him who it was?
No.
Tell him who it is.
Tom Anderson Guitars.
Right.
Mr. Tom Anderson.
Which is what Rob pretty much plays exclusively.
Yeah. Having live situations for over 20 years.
How many of those guitars do you have?
Right now I've got 6.
How many have you had lifetime?
Like at any one point or cumulatively?
Cumulatively.
60.
Gee,
Well, Todd, I was a professional musician, so
oh, cripes!
These were
60.
Yeah, probably 60 over the years.
Sorry, 60.
60, at least 50, probably 60 though. I'd have to write down all the different ones I've had. Yeah, I mean, like at one time I was in
I need my inhaler.
At one point I was in a touring band, and I toured with 3 of the exact same model for different tunings. I mean, yeah.
You gave me the vapors.
Yeah, and I taught and worked.
60.
I worked at an Anderson dealer for 15 years. So the store owner would come out and go, "Hey, we got a slot for June that's not taken. Do you want it?" And sure, okay.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's impressive. I didn't know that. I thought you were going to say like, I don't know, 16 or
no.
20.
At one time, I think I had 12 or 13 in my possession.
Golly,
when I was really playing a lot. And
yeah.
Actually, there was one month where I bought like 5 in a month.
That's crazy because these are not cheap guitars.
They're not cheap. But this is a carpenter buying his tools. This is not.
I understand that.
I mean?
I understand that. I just wasn't expecting that.
Okay. So, anyways,
and also considering that they're not all. It's not like there's a giant range of like all the different kinds of guitars. Like, no, there's just a couple of them.
No, there really isn't. The options there are so many options. You didn't look at the neck shapes, fret sizes, pickups.
That stuff, yes. I just mean
body shapes. They make 5 or 6 body shapes.
Yeah.
But then they make them in different scale lengths.
Yeah.
Different everything. Different.
Yeah.
I mean, it's astounding.
Yeah. When you look at the
options they
booth,
have.
you're like, there's like 4 or 5 guitars here, right? I get it.
Yeah.
But then you look at there's Ibanez, and they got like 75 different kinds of
But they're
electric
not.
guitars.
But then when you look down, it's like, oh, that's actually the exact same model, the exact same neck, exact
I
same
know,
everything in
I
6
know.
colors. Where Tom's like, yeah, we can do one of 800 colors.
Yeah.
And all these, and we have 10 fret sizes. They're not 10 frets, but and 30 different pickups we can
Sure.
use. And
Because it's all
it's
made to
all
order.
made to order. They're
Yeah.
all one-off instruments.
Well, how much are those roughly?
The
speaking?
low end, you're probably looking mid 3s for a new one. On the low end, that would be a solid finish, no frills.
100?
Yeah, 3,500. Yeah. And top end, if you want like the 5A quilt with this and all the features and everything, street price maybe 6 to 7 grand. It's probably the top end or upper end. Because you can literally choose personalized wood. You can either go out there and pick your pieces of wood, or you want
Yes.
they'll pick them. And I mean, so it really is. They're all one-off instruments, and I think they make less than $1,000 or 1,000 guitars a year.
Wow.
On average, it's like 3 guitars a day, kind of thing. Maybe they're up to 4 a day. They said, but yeah,
That's kind of a lot for a day, though.
yeah.
I mean, for one guy
Well, it's not one guy. What they got? 16 people.
and 16 people.
Yeah, I mean, and hopefully we're gonna have Tom on the show because I mean it's not.
It sounded like when we finally got a hold of him. Now,
Yeah.
granted, it was at the end of a Friday.
It was the end of a Friday. He was very agreeable, but I think to some degree he was like, "Yeah, okay, it's time for me to go home."
That sounds great. You have your people call my people.
But we talked to Marcus, which is his partner, and he was.
If you
all
have
about
60
doing
of his
it.
guitars, I think he is obliged to do that.
I'm not that unusual.
Okay.
There are guys that you know what I mean.
And I finally got to play one of these that you've been
Yeah.
talking about for all this time, and I was like, you handed me one. And
Yeah.
this was also another like standout moment. I can't believe I'm saying this, but you handed me like was it the Thin Line?
I handed you a Raven. It was the offset body.
Okay, but it was a Thin Line. It was. I'm almost positive it had
What do you
a.
mean, thin line?
Well, Thin Line style just meaning like it has the F hole and
No, no,
It
F-hole.
didn't?
No. It was just
thought it
it was an offset thing.
Yeah.
I think it had a trim on it.
Oh, that's right, because it had the crazy paint on it.
Yeah, it had
Yeah.
the Mistachrome paint, the color changing. Yeah.
And he said, just strum this. And I was like, well, it's just an offset, blah, 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 And what? Yeah. It was so percussive. It rang.
Resonated.
It rang. And it just kept going. I was like, I really couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
I don't recall hearing. And this is in front of the Marshall
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, we're right in front of the
surrounded
Marshall
by
booth.
all kinds of noise, and I could hear.
Yeah. And what Todd's talking about, I told him, I said, just sit down, hold this guitar, and strum an open chord so you can feel the whole guitar resonate and
It
ring
did.
and vibrate
It absolutely
in
did.
your arms.
I've never experienced anything like that.
And almost every single Anderson I've ever had is that way.
I don't know how they do that, but that was
Attention
special.
to detail. It is. Yeah. It's something
Yeah.
else. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all he just needs like an isolation booth to say, do this, and everybody in there will be converted.
I agree. I agree.
That was pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
Next.
So right after we left Celestion, or not right after, but we stopped by the Digitech DoD booth.
Yeah.
And they had some neat stuff, kind of a sidetrack. Walk up to a guy and I'm looking at name tags. You just got to look at the name tags to see who you're talking to, see what their position is, all that kind of stuff too. But he's in the booth and I recognize his name. And I'm like, Kevin Drury, like back of house amp support for Marshall Randall. He's like, yeah. A guy I've dealt with for over a decade on the back end. You don't expect to see these people
Yes.
at the show, but he's now in a sales position doing DoD Digitech support and
Right.
sales, and this leads us into the next thing. Something I'm very excited about is the Marshall book. What is it called? Collecting Loud?
It's called Collecting Loud History.
Yeah. So
He said, you got to go over and talk
Yeah.
to these guys. You got to know. And he had to sign up for the thing, like pull up and we're like, oh, yeah,
Yep.
okay. Anyways, because we kind of got interrupted because at that very moment, we had Johnny Lightfoot come over and start to talk to us about some of the pedals.
about the DoD history, or
Right.
what they got going on.
Yeah.
But so Kevin turned us on to this fine gentleman that has written a book and soon be releasing it, History of Marshall. And
Yeah.
how many pages is it? 800?
It's 600.
600 pages
Yeah.
and huge picture. Now, did you already know this, Todd, that is the documentation on one man's collection?
It is not. It's a couple. So, essentially, what I found out, I went over to the Marshall booth and I was trying to find this person we were trying to contact because I wanted to talk to them about the new pedals that they had released. And there was just a guy sitting on the stool. And I said, "Hey, do you know the so and so and blah blah blah?" And he's like, and I'm looking at it, and then I look at his name, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, how do I know that name?" I said, "Wait, Brian Banks?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh my gosh,
We want to talk to you.
we want to talk to you." And he's like, "Why?" I said, You did the Loud book. He's like, yeah, it's right here.
Yeah.
And he shows me a prototype of it.
Right.
And it's like imagine a phone book. Each page is, it's dedicated to it isn't just like all the Marshall models. It's literally specific models and
Specific units.
their provenance and
Yep.
what has been done to them.
Yep.
What is special about it? And it's him and
It's 3 guys, I believe.
yeah. I'm trying to remember the other ones.
And this what maybe you're aware of this, Todd, but the vintage units that were roped off in the Marshall booth,
Yeah.
were the
yeah,
owner
of
the guy
Yeah.
who
So it's very very exciting because I don't think anything like this has been made before.
the owner of the amps. His name is Steve something.
That's probably right. I know I have another card here somewhere.
Anyways,
But yeah, so he and a couple other guys said, hey, all these amps that we've been working on, and he specifically only does the Tolex on all these things. So that's why you have he and a couple of these other guys, like they have the biggest collection of vintage Marshalls on the planet.
well, and that's what I mean. This one guy in particular has 400.
Yeah,
Many
it's
of
bananas.
which are museum quality, untouched, unique. Well, I think the guy said his most unique one is a JTM 45 100 watt,
Okay.
which I don't know how many dozens were made, and he has one, and it's almost perfectly mint condition.
Yeah.
So it's astounding how much stuff this guy has.
Peter M. Margolis.
There you
That's
go.
him. You can hear the excitement in our voices. And that's not because I'm like I'm a Marshall guy,
I am.
I know you are, and you repair amps, so that's also
Yeah.
like a really, really important,
Yeah.
resource.
Yeah.
I'm just excited because this is going to be all new information
Yeah. Oh, it's and
on so
it's gonna
many
be
levels.
so comprehensive.
600 pages. There was a French guy that came up, and he just started talking to Brian, even though I was talking to him.
It's like, excuse me.
And he's like, "I'd like to buy the book here, but how much for the book?" And
Can't buy it yet.
and the watching these two guys try to communicate was hilarious because Brian was just like, "No, man, you can't have that. That's a prototype." And he's like, "I just want the one." He's like, "No, you can't have that one. Why not this one? How much for this one is used?" And he was trying to get a discount on this used book.
I give you $30.
And then he's like, no, we're prototyping them. And how much
This is my display. I can't
He said each one of those is like each prototype was like $500 to make, and they have think 2
But
prototypes.
it's used now.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, you guys are gonna handle this.
I give
straighten
you
this out.
$30.
But Brian is very excited to come on, and
That's gonna be
I hope that we get Peter Margolis on as well. And what you can do, you can go to collectingloudhistory.com and you can actually join the waiting list. Now, the extra cool thing is, it looked like one of those Uline catalogs that you get where it's just like, no, this is just a big catalog. And he said, oh, no, it's going to be leather
hard.
bound.
Leather bound.
Leather bound, embossed, the whole 9 yards. This
See,
thing is going to be worth a lot.
I signed up for the wait, but now I don't know if I can afford that.
It's probably going to be, I mean, I think he said it's like 200,
okay.
at least 200 bucks.
Okay, I'll spend that.
Yeah.
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 Oh, I'm buying
If
that.
if you're remotely excited about what we're talking about, then you really should
It's
get on
gonna
that
be-
wait list.
it's gonna be
because that's
exciting.
also going to help drop the price down initially.
Yeah, the more people.
So,
yeah, bigger run they do.
anyways,
So that was cool.
yes.
What else we got?
I mean, well, I always enjoy my time at the, for lack of better terms, Pedal Island.
Yeah.
It is
Everybody
so
was
gr-
like, Todd. It was like going. What's the old show from the '90s? Cheers. You were like Norm.
that was the 80s.
'80s. Okay, whatever decade that was. But yeah, you were Norm because literally.
Well, there was a lot of norms there.
Yeah. Well, right there because you obviously know a lot of people in that the small boutique.
It was
pedal.
great.
Yeah.
It was really, really great. Got to meet Cosmodio Instruments in person.
Yep. Nice guys.
Got to see our friends at summer school. I got super cool. Got to hang out with
Yep,
super cool.
Yep, super cool. What about
Acorn amps.
What about talking about new people? We
Yes.
met the new owners of Mad Professor Pedals.
Yep. Very, very excited about that. We talked to them, and I tried to explain, like, hey, I tried to connect with you like 2 years ago or something like that.
They're like, we
And
weren't
he said,
there.
we weren't there. And I was like, oh. And he goes, we own the company now.
Yep.
And because the originators, the original guys, all left. They
Whatever.
they retired.
They just abandoned.
Yeah, they retired. So they're very excited. They're like, yeah, no, we want to come on. We want to come on. We
Yeah.
want to talk. So they had all their stuff. They've got plans for new things and
Re-releasing stuff. Yeah.
some of the Mad Professor pedals are really unique because in a lot of ways, when you interact with it, you're like, wait, what is this? What am I supposed to hear from this? I think one of them that like a honey drive or a honey pedal or something like that.
Sweet Honey.
Sweet honey. I
They
tried
probably
that
called
and it's just not. They're not all like the most intuitively laid out
And some
things
some
because
of
they're
the knobs,
combinations of things.
Well, yeah, interactive. Like
Yeah.
I think Sweet Honey or some of the other overdrive pedals, the focus control changes how it works depending on where you have the gain and where
Yeah.
you have this. And for disclosure, I've been using the Little Green Wonder on my pedal board for almost 20 years.
yeah,
And I also have the Silver Spring. I'm a big proponent. I've always loved Mad Professor pedals.
Yeah.
Because they are very natural, very organic sounding.
yeah,
So, and that first thing I said when they said, yeah, we just bought the company, I asked him, I was like, so where's the phaser? Because they made a phaser back in the day. And he's like, we're planning on bringing that back. It was the most full, lush phaser I've ever heard in my life. I should have kept the thing, but...
yeah. So it was great just hanging out, and I mean, I just wanted to hang out and just continue to talk to these guys, which that's one of the things you have to be mindful of.
It's tough.
Because yeah, they want to hang out and talk too, but they're also trying to meet new people. They're trying to attract,
Dealers.
dealers and stuff, and
They have business to do.
Get people that are way bigger than us to get attached to their brand. Like we're standing there, and we're hanging out with Super Cool, and he's like, hey, Troy Van Leeuwen's supposed to be here in like 5 minutes. And I was like, what? And sure enough, he showed up and he goes, I'm just gonna have him come over. And he was completely wigged out, Troy Van Loon came over, played one of the pedals, said, "This is what I think," blah 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 blah, and they got a picture, and he was like shaking after that, and understandably so. Troy Van Leeuwen's a beast. So that was great. Just all the connections there in general.
And like we talked about at different points too, that was overall the most important or biggest high for me was connections with people, because new products, even if it's this like the Slush speaker, that is something could potentially be really groundbreaking. That's fantastic. But making connections with real genuine people, I mean, and yeah, we had a lot of that and a lot of exciting conversations to be had. So
I think another big one for me, I love hitting the guitar boutique showcase. Sorry, the boutique guitar showcase. And we've, just like out in the pedal land and even in the amp land, like we've had so many of these people on. And a lot of times NAMM is where I get to actually meet them for the first time.
yeah, face to face.
In this case, and now more reoccurring, is like we get to reconnect. And that's always extra fun. So we walk into the showcase, and we met up with Sully Guitars, who immediately just made us go like, "Oh no!" And we were, we had to have been some of the first people there.
Yeah,
because it had just opened, and we kind of went directly to that.
Yeah, and it was Thursday too. Yeah.
It was Thursday, and Sully was there, and he said, "Well, my number one showcase guitar that was built around the concept of a Swatch watch had been stolen before the show even started."
Yeah.
I can't even believe how that guy was containing the rage he must have. And I know that they've been struggling to sort that out, but I'm sure things will get sorted out. And then got to hang out with Cower Guitars.
Doug.
Yep.
He's a kindred spirit. I like that guy.
He's a great guy, yeah. And so, we had a great time talking with him. Dean Gordon, he's like Mighty Might.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of punch. Yeah. And his
beautiful
guitars
instruments.
are just the gonzo.
The meticulous. It's yeah. You think
everybody associates his guitars with supercars.
Yeah. And that's
because they look like supercars, they feel like supercars, and you can tell that the engineering is not expected, and that's one of the reasons supercars are so crazy.
I'll say this though, that most supercars, like you hit a bump too hard and something falls off. That is not the case with these. These are built.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you would think they were made in a multi-million-dollar facility.
Absolutely.
It's astounding.
They're not.
Yeah.
By any stretch.
Right.
And he labors intensely over every single one of them.
Yep.
And then also got to catch up with Phase Guitars, which is the ones that we had from Germany, the all aluminum ones.
Yep.
And he's just an absolute great dude, so smart. And the cool thing was this time, when he had showed his guitars before, it's like if you pick it up, it's all aluminum, and that's cool. The neck's aluminum, the body's aluminum. All the parts on it are basically proprietary. He's crafted or co-crafted everything. And this time he brought it, and the neck, the back of the neck and the top of the fretboard were separated, so you could see how he'd created the connecting bodies and the actual body itself. He had an open clamshell of the body. Just fascinating stuff. I mean, I could see somebody rolling up and said, "Hey, I don't want to buy these guitars, but I have a very good friend at Ducati that would like to hire you." Something like that. Honestly, that's how crazier things have happened, because he's like, he's thinking on a level.
Yeah.
Nothing in there was like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was very, very exciting. And we got to hang out with Caroline Guitars over by himself, and
By the
got
bathrooms or
greeted
wherever
by a
he was
great big
at.
bear hug, and I was like, wow, that's
Yep.
cool. I love it. And along the way, I should say that our friend David Kaminga was
Oh,
keeping
yeah. Yep,
keeping a
yep.
good report on everything that he was doing, and then we got to go out and have dinner with him Thursday night, and that was a great time. David, thank you so much for hanging out, for being patient. Where are you? I'm in 1100C. Okay,
Hitting a moving target. You know?
it is absolutely like playing Marco Polo in the
Yeah.
biggest pool at night.
Yeah, it is something else. Yeah.
So we enjoyed hanging out with David. He's, he loves this stuff so much. Loads of fascinating stories to share, and all of the conversations that he has had. Met up with a handful of other fans, and I also, you know what? Oh, I forgot. Car amplifiers.
Steve Carr.
Steve Carr.
What a sweet guy.
Absolutely. And we said, hey, we're from, can you come in? He goes, yeah.
Yep.
He did not like, a lot of times you have to say, so tell us about the show and give you the qualifications so that you know that, like, hey, we're semi-legitimate and all the stats and everything. And then they go, okay, well, let me think about it or whatever. No, he was just like, yeah, I'm all in. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then handed us this little, like, almost like a coloring book of like, this is how my amp works.
Right, yeah.
Which was like,
This is about my company. It's a little cartoon book he gives out when you fill out the
really
warranty
sweet
info. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we had lots of, talk about the people that we hope to have on that we made connections with. There were so many. We're talking, Anderson and
Loads.
Like we got to follow up with 2 Rock divided by 13.
Yeah.
Other ones, Red Panda, Victory, Lawler.
Yeah.
Boy, I can't even remember now. There's just so
Eastman.
many.
Eastman.
Oh yeah, that was early on.
Yes,
I forgot
Eastman
about
was
that.
early on. We tried to get him on last time, and things didn't play out. But this time, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And not Eastwood, everybody, Eastmen.
Yep.
And that was a great one. Now, we're not going to be super much more long in the tooth here, but this is all happening in NAMM. Outside of NAMM, there's a whole bunch of people that typically would have probably been there. Curtis Novak put on the Wood, Wire, and Volts showcase off-site. He and a handful of other people put that all together. And, I know most of you have probably seen all of the advertisements and everything for it just on social and like, what is this? Because it's happening at the same time at NAMM, but it's not at NAMM technically. The builders included there were just absolutely, half the room was been on our show.
Yeah.
So
It was another cheers moment for Todd.
Well, not in the sense of
No,
but in the
no.
sense of like
reconnection with people you have a history
absolutely.
with. Yeah.
So we have I'm trying to get to it's a long list. I finally got to meet in person Chris Vincent from R2R Electric. We've had him on the show twice. It was such a thrill to meet him in person. I feel like and that's the whole thing. A lot of these people, you just have to have a conversation. I feel like we've been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
And met his wife, and it was just, that was worth the price of admission right there, honestly. Yeah. Chris, I know you're listening. Thanks for doing what you're doing, man, and thanks for being such a sweet dude and taking time to hang out and talk with me. And it was such a great time connecting with you. And then Frank Daimel, all the way from Germany.
Yeah.
One of our earliest guitar interviews, and we've had him on twice. And he was saying the same thing. I'm so thrilled to meet you. It's like,
Right.
I feel like we've been talking for years. So, and all of the people in the showcase, they are this is like top shelf builders, top shelf, not just builders, but top shelf people in the industry because they're doing everybody's kind of doing a little bit more than just building. They're contributing and co-contributing and they're just embedded deeply into the scene. And this room was filled with some absolute greats. You had Walsh guitars. Oh my gosh! So sat there and got to hang out with him, and same thing. It's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've been talking to you forever. So we're gonna have him back on the show.
Cool.
So he gave me a thumbs up for that, and get way more into that. We talked to Grez.
Yep.
Yeah, we had Grez guitars on, and you got to check some of those out for the first time. The Redwood guitars.
Yep.
Ran into somebody that is going to be on the show. I'm very excited for this. This is Tone Ranger guitars, and they're very Bakersfield-ish, I guess you could say. Absolute gem of a guy, and his name is Jeff Leavitt.
Sure.
He'll correct me. Yeah. I just got Jeff.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I'm Jeff. Hey, I'm Todd.
Yeah.
He's probably struggling with my name too. But if you're not familiar with Tone Ranger guitars, go check it out now, because like it's different than everything we've been talking about. We obviously got to hang out with Curtis Novak. Curtis Novak pickups, obviously, known, very, very well known. Zach from Mythos pedals. They had Black Volt. They had Asher. I'm just gonna kind of go through. The Frank brothers. I got to meet both the Frank brothers. They were also early on people, and the conversation that kept coming up is like, this is also my opportunity to say thank you for taking a chance on a very little known podcast at the time when you came on the show. And we talked about like how far they've gone and how far we've gone and all that stuff. And almost everybody in that room actually was pretty early on the show. Built Guitars was there as well.
Yeah, that was some great stuff.
Satellite Amps, Earthquaker.
I had no idea
Casadosa.
I had no idea Satellite Amps was responsible for the loud room there.
Oh yeah.
That's who is. Yeah, I just heard loud noises beyond this door, and I had no idea that's who was behind that.
Yeah. So, anyways, it was obviously a very, very good trip. Now we're going to round third and head home. Okay. Also, I know that there's a lot of people that we probably have left off.
There's so many.
Please, don't take any offense if your name has not been mentioned. What am I going to say? Oh yeah, get to the thing. Rob's telling me to turn the corner. Oh wait, that was Starcrawler played at that place too.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you went back for that.
Epic.
Yep.
Yeah. So we went back that night and watched Starcrawler and hung out with Henry for a little while, and they sound amazing and everybody lost their mind. It was great. Okay. So our conversation with John from NAMM.
Okay.
How do we match up everything we've been talking about with our discussion that we had with him?
Well, and let's talk real quick. Our takeaway after our discussion with John directly influenced you and me to go out to this NAMM.
Exactly.
Because the way he framed it, that
I wasn't planning on going.
Yeah, no, neither of us were. And the changes they're implementing and their vision for what NAMM is going to be moving forward. So we're like, well, this sounds exciting that they're putting this together and more creator, influencer centered. They have the lounges for recording, editing, all that kind of stuff to make it more interactive. So that's what we were expecting to see. What did you think, Todd? Did you think?
I think most of the stuff I think that he was very clear on addressing the things that he knew that he was able to impact. Mm-hmm. There's two stories going on. Well, maybe more than that, but two main stories going on now. What are the things that have sort of like gotten wobbly? Okay, NAMM as it is, as we know it, not what is it going to be, what could it be, will it ever be the same? Nothing. That's a separate thing. Okay, for the existing show of NAMM, as people remember it, in in the last 5 years, where was it? In the last 2, is it going to get better? Is it worth me going? That was essentially our conversation. I think it very much was. And I think there is a lot of things that he touched on that, to the degree that he was able, and I know it's not just him. We had Marshall was there. That was a big thing.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick.
It really was.
So Marshall was there in a big way.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go to the flip side of that, though. Fender was there,
right?
But it was private only.
Right.
You had to have an appointment. You had to set up appointments to view, record content,
right,
do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So they're being very selective. They didn't want just looky-loos coming through. And Gibson?
Not there at all.
Not there. They had some pieces in the creator content area or something.
Yeah.
But they had no reps, no nothing.
No.
JHS wasn't there. PRS had no booth.
Right.
I mean,
but he played there, which was also
he played and had a 30th anniversary party somewhere off-site. I mean, he was there, but PRS as a corporation said, yeah.
Yeah.
So you still have some really big names.
That starts to pick the scab of the question that everybody keeps asking, which is like, where's this going?
Where's it going?
If anywhere.
What combination of what it used to be and
right. And how much life will this still have? Now, we're looking at it also only from the guitar industry part of this.
Well, no, I understand.
Just simply
we're
saying
focusing
we
on
don't know enough about all the other stuff, all the like orchestral instruments, drums, live DJ stuff, pro audio, all that stuff. I mean, we just don't know enough about that to talk about it.
Yeah,
you might know a little bit more about that.
I know a little bit more about that, but yeah, it's interesting. Let me chime in here that back in the day, 20 years ago, when I used to go to NAMM, it was buyers. It was to make deals and to see new products before they were even produced. Right.
Right.
Now the products are produced, ready to ship in a retailer the day NAMM starts.
Yep.
So the purpose of NAMM is not the same, and what John kind of put forward to us that they were going to focus on what could be the focus in the future, which is the social marketing and that kind of networking thing.
Yeah.
How much purchasing do you think happened at this NAMM, or do you think it really has shifted to
I talked to quite a few people who actually were meeting with vendors to purchase, because that's for some people that's the first time that they're ever going to get to see them. So mostly in the smaller realms, or even people from outside the U.S. Mm-hmm. A lot of the boutique guitar stuff. That's just not stuff that's easily accessible.
Yeah,
so
I can understand the boutique thing. And I know I talked to a couple people that do business with Fender, FMIC.
Yeah.
And
I could have sworn Super Cool got into a new.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah. So you had some buyers walk around there. And my point with FMIC, I know that that dealers at appointments were purchasing the one-off custom shop stuff that were there.
Yeah.
And they were, of course, booking orders, but most of the retailers,
but not high volume.
Well, that's just it. Is that they're, let's say that Fender's debuting on Wednesday at the media event. They debuted the new Standard series, which is fitting this gap between the Mexican made stuff and the Asian made stuff. Blah 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 blah. Well, those guitars have already shipped to all their major retailers. So the major retailers aren't showing up there to then purchase those items. They're like, yeah, we already did our video at Anderton's a month ago about this product, so it dropped the same day this is going on. So those kinds of deals where I used to go in and I would see this new prototype thing and I would order it to ship in 6 months. That's what I mean, is the purchasing in that regard isn't there anymore. So
and maybe it is going to require.
And I'm not saying this is bad. It's just this is post-pandemic and internet world,
I think the difference that I saw, or that maybe I could think about here, is that, if Fender was there but by appointment only, then that may just because maybe there isn't a big enough new offering to come out and do a big giant thing.
They actually had a lot of new stuff.
Well, let me get.
Okay, go ahead.
So I think the last time that they were there in force is when they had debuted the Acoustasonic, which is the hollow body, electric kind of thing, but acoustic, and then they also had the Jimmy Page Dragon guitar and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah. So they had this huge, it was a big thing. They made a load of media stuff about it. And maybe it's just like, hey, when we're ready to, when we have something that we're like, hey, we need to sell like a ton of these things, then they can do that. I don't know, but the brands that are that big, you could tell that it mattered. There was just something different in there. People were swarmed on the Marshall thing.
Yeah, well, Marshall was, and
but Marshall hasn't been there.
Right. That between the placement, the layout of the booth, it made an impact. I mean, you couldn't miss this thing. It was like a Goliath,
Yeah.
So I think it was all of that.
I actually heard.
Did you hear about the
George
Marshall?
Costanza's dad go, "I'm back, baby."
Well, we should talk real quick though. As that's going on, and we're walking around the booth, we're like, look at all this Marshall stuff. They were purchased.
Yes.
They finalized the deal for 1.1 billion euro.
Well, and that was part of our huge conversation on the way home. It's like,
and we didn't know that was going on.
We used Marshall as the example, trying to figure out like where is this thing going to go? What impact does all of this? What kind of a barometer is this for the guitar industry? And the rock industry, and the trickle down effect to the bedroom player.
Right.
I mean, we were having existential conversation about this, and it was all hypothetical.
And we had no idea it just happened.
Yeah, it was hypothetical, but it was like you were sharing your information from a person who's worked in the amp industry your whole life.
Yeah, and the sales flipped.
And the sales flipped, right? And I'm looking at it from a player, an enthusiast, a media person, so it was really interesting to volley back and forth,
Well, in some of the things we talked about, and just like this, so they were bought, everybody knows by now, but they were bought by a Chinese firm that, I don't know if you know this or not, but they also hold Alibaba and some other things like that. They bought it for $1.1 billion. They bought Marshall Group, which includes everything Sound produced products before they bought Marshall, controlling interest in Marshall. Let me clarify that. And I knew it was a really skewed thing, but in 2023, Marshall Group sales were $300-some million, right? 5% of it was guitar-related products. 5% of it was Marshall amplifiers.
Jeez.
70% of it was Marshall branded speakers.
Yeah.
20% of it was Marshall branded headphones.
Yeah. I used to have a pair of those. They were actually pretty good.
So worldwide, what we consider like Marshall, this Goliath of guitar amplification, is a rounding error in the bigger brand that is consumer products that don't have a clue what Marshall amps are.
Right.
So, and now that's been sold from Marshall to Sounds 18 months later, Sound. They've now sold it to a Chinese firm. How much is there concern on the...
I think there is a 20% retain...
it's more than 20, the family.
Yeah, I think it's 20%.
But they'd have no control.
Yeah, but it is retained by the Marshall family, 20%. Yes.
Yeah, some percent. Yeah, you're absolutely right. My point is that they have no say in what happens.
Right.
They just get a return on it.
Right.
And so the history, what we see when we romanticize these things, like this is Marshall, and it
how could you do this?
And Jim's rolling in his grave and all this. It's a commodity. It is a brand. This Chinese company bought Sound Marshall Group because they said, well, can we now move production to our facility and sell it on Alibaba exclusively and strengthen our where can we make more money?
Yeah.
You know, so and that's the big companies, but then you've got these little guys at the show that are like, this is my life.
Yeah.
It's my passion. I
Right.
don't look at it as a commodity. And you've got all those areas in between. And how does that fit with all these vendors?
Yeah. Hey, you know your Porsche's a Volkswagen, right? No, it's not. It's a Porsche. You know, it's all owned by by Daimler.
Right.
Anyways, I know it isn't. Don't worry, everybody. I'm not tripping on Porsches or anything.
But that's a perfect point because it's
ownerships. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Like, you know, you have shared with me very much a layman in all of this. Oh yeah, this company and this company and this company and this company are all owned by this company. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Just because I've never thought to think, is that actually, like, why would they be owned by somebody else?
And at the show, I walked into the Yamaha room upstairs, second, third floor. I walked across the hall, and you had Yamaha Guitar Group, which is Guild, somebody else, Ampeg, Line 6.
Yeah.
You know, you tell people, it's like, yeah, Ampeg is owned by Yamaha. They're like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Well, Vox is owned by Roland.
No, Vox is...
No, Korg.
Korg.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Vox is Korg along with Black Star.
Right.
All these other,
Right. So we were like, hey, where's Black Star? I don't know. Where's Vox? I don't know.
They're in with... I can tell you where they're at.
I wonder who's in the Korg booth.
Yeah.
Oh, Vox and Black Star.
Vox, Black Star, Aguilar now.
Aguilar, yeah.
Yeah.
So it is very interesting, and it
Just
can
like
take a
with
little bit of the idealistic shine off of a few things, but yeah, you know, whatever.
This is what it is in corporate, and I mean, there's very few truly independent large manufacturers.
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
You know?
Well, anyway, so our conversation was, we're going to use Marshall as the example of you know, where do the big guys fit in this NAMM thing?
Yeah.
Is it worth it for them to go? We had very differing views and goods and bads, and plus and minuses, and this is what I think, and this is what you think. All of that conversation can be put in a box, because another thing that was happening, and then this wasn't the only sideshow, by the way.
Yeah, the woods, wires, and volts.
Wood wire, and volts. So, as much as this conversation is actually, you know, it's important, and you know, it's not like all of a sudden the lights are going to get turned on. But does this need to become something different, just altogether? Who knows? We can't answer that. I don't know that John can answer that. He might have a crystal ball. I don't know. But the conversation that we had with him, I think it was great to hear that from him, because we went in there and we said, well, let's see how this goes. And I think very much the things that he was earnest about improving or updating or upgrading, I think he did a good job of that.
Oh, absolutely.
And not just him, everybody that he's worked with, obviously. But
yeah.
So I didn't feel like he was selling us a bill of goods.
Oh, no.
Even when he was on the show, I'm like, no, I 100% believe.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, John, thank you for that. But outside of NAMM,
yeah.
So you had the wood wire and volts.
And then you also
and
had...
so these are like, hey, here's a whole sub house of like brands is like, and to Curtis even said, I turned away a lot of brands because
didn't have room.
I needed this to be like, no, it's got to be these brands.
Yeah. And
we also didn't have room, and I didn't want to compromise the experience because it was all about like turnstiles. Like they were all of the displays were like round tables.
Yeah.
So you didn't just walk up and down aisles and say, I don't need to go down this aisle. You had to interact with everybody. Really genius. Incorporated live shows. Science and Nature. It was a great band. They played right before Star Color. Bar, they had the food, and it was perfect. And he, next year he's like, yeah, I want to do this again. We're going to try to make it a little bit bigger. I'm not going to blow it out, because there's something about it being small that makes it extra special too. There's also the effector market, which we missed because that was on Saturday and we were on a plane. and that included, loads of other ones that, I know that Chase Bliss, 29 Pedals, Alexander, Caroline, Empress, Maris, and Old Blood, they were all there.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure would have been a really great time. So nature finds a way, right? And these are two examples of the little flowers that poke up in between the sidewalk cracks in the big city. And the big city being NAMM, here's these two little things that go boop, and you're like, this is freaking cool.
Yeah.
And maybe it does sort of turn into that is a destination, and there's a bunch of these things that start taking our attention. To me, that's kind of what the Nashville NAMM feels like, honestly. There were loads of like little pop-ups and stuff that we got to go to.
Yeah. And that's the way the Nashville NAMM used to. They would have a dedicated side
David
room.
Kaminga just texted me.
Oh, that figures.
It's like, how are you and Rob doing Namthrax over? Yes, David. Namthrax is, it's just about over.
Yeah. But Nashville NAMM used to have rooms that were dedicated to boutique builders, and you would walk through, and it would be very much that, and it'd be at that point it was like garage guitars and VHT amps and matchless, and they were off to the side, and it was very much a small community thing, and it felt small,
Yeah.
Which goes back to the NAMM thing we talked about. It was great that these outside shows are popping up and building that community. I wonder if somehow NAMM can help foster that as part of the greater NAMM thing.
Yeah. I think they may not have any other choice. Honestly, it would be in their absolute best interest to keep doing that.
100%. I mean, like in my head, I would imagine like Hall E, which was mostly acoustic stuff, miscellaneous. I don't know. It's kind of the trash bin, to be honest with you. It was kind of just some boy, it being off to the side like that and everything, that would be the perfect place to put all of these people that are doing their own shows outside and make it the cool area. And
you could. I think that there's no way that Curtis would do that, especially having gone to see what Wood Wire and Volts was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was totally different.
It was totally. But then that's what I'm saying is involve these people and go, how can we bring that? So we're not going to make you fit.
I don't think you can. I'm saying they might need to.
Todd.
I think that they probably need to support it being there in some way. Say like,
because the downside is that still, like, if I'm a buyer, if I was buying for a larger independent dealer, I most likely would not have gone to either of these other outside events, because as a buyer mindset, you're there to do business and you have to be streamlined, organized, put it together.
Yeah, but that's where some of the hottest stuff is. And I mean,
but you don't know that as a buyer. You don't know what.
But that's why you have to go.
I'm telling you, as a
okay. All right. This is the I know what a buyer is, and
not I know what a buyer is, but I've been in that position before, and it's
Well, it'd be interesting. We'll talk with Curtis. He's going to come on the show, so
that'd be great.
It'd be great. Yeah, it'll be awesome to hear his.
We
perspective
have so
on this.
many just fantastic interviews that are going to happen.
I know.
6
I'm
months.
really, really excited.
It's
Our
unbelievable.
calendar is just getting loaded. It's very cool. And I got a few more. Hey, when are you going to do another one of these 4 on the floors?
Jeez,
I'm like,
when are we going to squeeze that in?
We got a whole stack of business cards.
Yeah.
But we do have to. I told him probably in
next
March.
quarter. Yeah, there we go.
Try to do
March
one like
or
maybe
April.
every 2 months.
Yeah.
Anything more than that, and it's gonna wear the shine off of it.
Agreed.
So more to come on that. But anyways, we could go on and on, but we are out of our own time that we give ourselves. Actually, we went a little bit longer than I thought. We went a lot longer than I thought we were going to go.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this up.
All right.
All right. Listen, everybody, thanks so much for hanging out. We'll be back with a normal nonsense-laden podcast coming up right after this one, where we're going to have M2 pedals on the
M2.
M2. Yeah. Very cool stuff. So, and Tony will be back here to brighten all your days. Anyways, Rob, anything else?
No, that's why I'm looking at my notes. Make sure we didn't miss anything important. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
Oh, no. Oh, we can't. How many Chinese OEM manufacturers were there? Holy moly.
They're always there like that.
20 years ago? No, they weren't.
Oh, well, every time I've gone, like, that's the whole bottom floor almost.
It's insane.
But now it's on the top floor.
It's insane. I mean, so many.
Yeah.
Whatever you want made in music, you can walk up to a booth and go, yeah, I want 12 of those or 12 cartons of this in red with my name on it. Okay.
Yeah.
It is astounding. Okay, sorry.
That's it. Okay. All right, everybody. Have a fantastic guitar week and subscribe.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Rob, there's nothing really funny to say, is there?
No.
I'm going to die. Oh, I'm going to die. No, I was so whacked out. I think I felt I was low blood oxygen.
Yeah.
Because I was just having a hard time
Hallucinating?
breathing. Very lightheaded, like all week, right? From all this stuff. I went to the doctor, and then I was waiting on my meds, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to wash my car because it's got all the snow calcium all over it. And I went to the car wash, and I put the car in, and the guy goes, oh, what's the zip code? And I was like, 92345. And I was like, 92? That's not my zip code at all. And I couldn't remember my zip code. I just started saying strings of numbers that weren't even close to that. And he goes, it's okay. I'll just put in mine. And I was like, oh man, I better get home.
Oh my God.
And away we go.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.